Happy Fun Day, also known as Sunday. Yesterday was Catter Day. Yeah, tomorrow's Family Day, at least in Canada. Is there a stat in the US for is there a Family Day? That was a fairly new thing. February was without a stat holiday, so Canada decided to put one in right about the same time they decided that all employees get an extra 5 days of paid sick days per year. So, anyways, that's just come up recently for me in particular. So, very grateful to be here. Had a wonderful morning thus far. Norma Jean, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing great. Just staying focused and utilizing this information and this understanding I have to continue to create content that's going to bring about, some clarity of the understanding of who we are and where we're at and many levels and multiplistic experiences we could have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I wanted to I'm being guided to kind of take things back a little bit to the beginning of when one first becomes aware that the reality they believe to be true is not everything that they were led to believe it was. So, whatever triggered you, and for many of us, um, for me, it was the moment when the coach said to me, Tanya, you're manifesting what you want. You're such a powerful manifester by saying, you're so busy as a mantra, because that was my mantra. Your brain's just giving you what you're asking for. Therefore, you can't focus, you can't think. So he gave me a new one, which was, I have all the time in the world to do everything I need to do. And I had to say it often. So reprogramming, right? The subconscious. But the profound thing was that it was like, fuck, I'm creating my reality. Oh, and that was the beginning of my personal development journey. And then, of course, along came 2020, and all of us with the bullshit meters just went, what is going on now? What is this? We all knew. So we are the black sheep. We are the circuit breakers per se in a system. And, it can be very dysregulating for many people when they first find out a truth. And it often won't be from you. It won't be from someone they know. It'll generally be from something they watch, from someone they trust, usually someone online or somebody at work they respect. And then they go real quiet because now they're trying to figure out what the fuck, right? They're really trying to figure out what is true for them and what does this mean, because it really rocks your world. It really does. It completely rocks your world in the way that you thought it was. And then you may choose to go down hunting many rabbit holes, more warrens than you can imagine, so to speak. And warrens are rabbit homes. They have all their little undernests. So, but can you come out and still be in one piece? And can you keep going? I think is some of those things. And that's kind of where, that's where we're at. And that's where we're speaking from now is keep going. There's more to this than you've been led to believe. If you've stopped at, the world, the external world is still telling you everything about your reality, there's so much more to that. Before we go on with that, Norma, do you want to share your experience?
If there's anything that I can share is that, throughout my life, I've always had a certain level of awareness that was just telling me there's just something that just, wasn't right about what we were experiencing, about especially what I was experiencing, given what I was taught growing up, you create your own reality, you can choose to be anything you want, so forth and so on. And there were truths to that, yet it's one of those that when you get out in the world, there's so much distraction, especially when you're young, and through that distraction, we're chasing those programmed thoughts that we didn't recognize or realize really how deeply they affected our will to go out and have a life, to see what life we could create and experience. And if there's anything recently, probably within the last this, I would say, especially the last 2-3 years, is I can take in information, and I can take in information and take in
Yeah,
information,
you can.
and but the one thing that I come to understand was I had to that I had to take in a lot that time to sit in that reflectiveness of the understanding of the knowledge of what I was processing, given whatever the subject matter was, whether it's an esoteric or exoteric understanding of particular things that were going on. Because if there was anything that I couldn't understand, it was slow down, take in bits of information, at its basic understanding, and the rest will fall in place. Because if you can understand just the basic information of the subject that you are, doing research within, because if you don't take the time to integrate, you're just going to be full of information where you're not able to apply it in ways that will help you to better structure your days, given what you've learned of that knowledge. And when we utilize things like Wikipedia, or we read books and things like that, but especially things like Wikipedia, where they'll give you that information about that subject or that period of time, where you have all these little blue words that you can keep looking up. I mean, because I'm telling you, you keep hitting them, it just takes here, and then it's like whoa, and then you hit one on that one that you just went to, and you're like whoa, and you're like ugh, because you can start going down the rabbit hole of history to understand how everything's come to be. And at least that was the way for me. So it was one of those like, okay, now I'm just at a point where it's like, okay, so I've taken in enough information where now I'm integrating a lot of what I've understood, and I'm beginning to utilize that in ways to be able to bring forth information in a way that hopefully promotes more of a simpler, clarifying understanding of what's taking place, how we begin to understand that we are so totally um, the creators of our experiences, of what we are a part of here in this thing called life. Because our journey truly does express that, if we have the ability to be able to just sit and understand our journey instead of judging the journey in which we walked.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're just joining us, of course, it's Tanya Powell and Norma Jean with Adventures for Connection, and it's Sunday Vibes. And today we just really wanted to do just a little recap on where things are at, and possibly how we're moving through stuff and how we're embodying more of this. So this is a mind, body, spirit. It's funny because this card came up, and I've been having a big conversation on the Four of Swords. Then this is ego. You can let your ego rest. And then we have mind, body, spirit. And so the message on that is that we can allow that observation. Look at it this way: you need your ego, but your ego is used to being in control and running the show. And the analogy I'm getting is like an untrained dog until you train it, right? And then that dog is so loyal. So it's not really separate from you, though. It is you. So it's not the best analogy. But to remember that your ego keeps you safe. You need your ego to be brave to do some things, or to keep you safe in a traumatic experience, or if a bear is chasing you, as one would say here in Canada, you need to keep your wits about you, and that's what it's for. But when you realize that instead of operating from here, that you operate more from your heart is the first organ that develops in this body. Your soul, your consciousness, you, is the spark that ignites this body, this avatar. You are light. Every mitochondria, the cell, shines. Your body generates more light than the sun. Let me say that again. Your body generates more light than the sun when in balance. But we've been dimmed. We've been dimmed so far from society, from our teachers, from our bosses, from church, school, all these influences, because as a child, you're figuring things out and you just want to make sure you're safe, right? And that's how the programming begins. And it's really your subconscious is set between ages birth and age 7. And then it correlates everything against that. So when you're really feeling stuck and trying to change something, that subconscious reprogramming can be very helpful. And so those are the meditations that I do for people. And so and sitting and observing instead of thinking you have to do something all the time. And I'm a bootstrap business. I did it, I pushed, I'm in control, I got this, I'm going to make it happen, fully me. Whereas I've had to, all right, you're not going to do anything about that. You're just going to observe. So like I almost have to like hold my hands, bite my tongue. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to observe. And quite often it'll resolve itself or a solution is shown. So this is what we mean by, part of this embodiment process is don't always have to do it with your mind. What would love do? What would the heart do? You want to add to that, Norma Jean?
Yeah, of course. If there's anything that I've come to recognize is you got to embody the information and live it to remember it. And when we, and what's going to happen is what you're going to find is a lot of what you're going to reference that knowledge to is the journey you've had up to this point, because it's what you have. Either that or you're going to utilize history in the context of the stories. I mean, the multiplicitness of the stories that are out there have been written over time since the beginning of the record keeping. And you'll begin to really recognize the patterning. You'll begin to see how the shifts and the changes took place given what choices were being made, given the period in time as to what was taking place in who was your kings, who was your queens, who were your leaders, who were your your religious individuals, whether it be the Pope or whomever. And as we begin to understand that history will tell us what's taken place, especially if it's been many revolutions. Because when we recognize that there are revolutions and we begin to understand that there are cycles of revolutions before we hit what is deemed an evolution, where when you look at history, it will tell you those really significant events that were turning points for the human race. Yet you'll also begin to see in history where those revolutions began to be the illusion of evolution. Because when you come to understand how things were shifted, changed, switched to something else, but yet still held the significance of what it was before, and where we begin to recognize that the illusion of what we would deem as our governments and our leaders and things like that has been taking and continuing revolutions where evolution probably should have taken place. But here's the beauty of the process that I've come to understand is that this is a period in time of things that we haven't experienced, because without the experience, how will we know how to approach something and ensure that it's something that's recognizable and seen, in time, if it's now a recorded, it's recorded in time, speaking to how it came to be, what it was, how to see those small nuances where, a lot of, the human race didn't see those smaller nuances where, situations where elites, which is just an elite, is where you begin to understand where all that was changing and shifting. So that way those small nuances are recognizable. So this is that point where I can recognize and I can see that it may take more time. Will it happen in my lifetime? I do not know. Yet I can see where that it's time that that evolution takes place, because the revolutions have just only continued what is been, where there's been no equality, where there's been no balance, where there's been no harmony, and where the pivot of the scale has pivoted more so than ever before. And it's time to bring life back to a balance where we understand the process of what we're here experiencing in our ability to be those co-creators and manifest the things we say we want to experience.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what if, what if, from a perspective, and I'll answer your question here in a second, Rhea. What if, as we go through this process, what if this was all part of the game all along, every single bit of it? Because I have a hard time imagining that, this dark versus evil, that we were meant to be right here, right now, exactly where we are. And this is a process. And I do believe we're having an evolution for those that are ready. We're going to get to go operate in a new way. We're going to get to live in more harmony and in communion with nature versus extracting what we need from her, like we don't care about her, like she's not a sentient being herself. And so the more time you spend in nature, the more you farm or grow a garden, the more you put seeds under your tongue, and then realize that growth of that has now become more in tune with your DNA and what your body needs, to realize that you are a light being. You are eternal, not immortal, eternal light being. And so this is like the most magical game ever from that perspective. It feels so real, hence the suffering. It's done intentionally. For suffering is giving your power away as well. It means you don't know you enough to love you. And so I just wanted to share that little bit.
Very.
Ray is asking, how do we claim as ours with confidence what we've utilized to amplify our light, including and especially the parts or aspects, things, info that you don't resonate with anymore, but was formed part? I wouldn't even put any thought to that, for you're ever evolving. The whole point of expanding consciousness, awakening, whatever you choose to call it, is to realize that you're going to change your beliefs. And in changing those beliefs, you're going to let things go and other things are going to come in. So there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment on self, especially for the experiences you've had, because whether good or bad, as you label them, each is just an experience. To God's source, there is no good or bad, or the divine creator of all, your choice. There is no good or bad. There just is. Because when you realize unconditional love, especially for self, every single experience has made you who you are right now. And if there were all only good experiences, well, that wouldn't be very fun, would it? You think it would be, but you would have nothing to compare anything to. How could you know the most amazing experiences, though highest highs, if you haven't hit some lows? And it's only in suffering do we actually change as humans. It's only in going, I did that again. It's only in recognizing that. So yeah, never, ever. It's part of your process to not judge yourself. Yeah. Norma?
I mean, you're absolutely correct. It was beautiful, T. That we are the purpose for the evolution this go around.
Yes.
That we are the ones who have to stop the revolution within us. When we stop the revolution by realizing and recognizing our ability as an individual to recognize those patterns that become habitual about our thoughts, about our approach to our co-creative process and understand that, you know, it got to a place where we were, what you would say, manipulated in our understanding of what we were ultimately and how important we really are to this experience. So when we look at what we utilize to understand, whether it's an esoteric subject or whatever it may be that you are doing research in, you must go with how you feel, because when you get so attuned to who you are, as I have, and I still know I have so much more to go in attuning
It's a
to,
journey.
right, the attuning of the fullness of who, of my abilities.
Yeah.
The more attuned I come to understand how my, not what my thought is, but what my feeling is as I'm reading something. What is it that I'm getting from the words that are utilized within the context of that historical expression, conveyance, message, whatever it may be? What am I feeling? Is the feelings, because that's the thing about it, is that at the beginning the feeling is subtle because you're not used to utilizing it as a part of your experience so much, because we got so used to the extremes of how we were feeling because we were so reactive of our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's at that point in time where, as we continue on in this journey, and you know, each of us come here to do what we can to assist one another and guide one another into understanding. It's going to take time, because you got to undo what's been done. You must understand how to approach something differently, but in order for you to master that, you're going to have those experiences that are going to bring you those chances and opportunities to do that. Because if there's anything that I learned, especially in my 30s, as I was getting to know more and more and taking in more information to understand, who am I? Where am I? What is this? Why is there so much information out here, but there's no way that you can take this information and it all be put in one place where it gives you that chronological order of how things have taken place. And that, of course, in its own way has been purposeful. So as I was having these experiences, and the more questions I asked, the more experiences came for me to have that knowledge and that wherewithal to be able to change and shift in that instantaneous moment, that, oh, this is my chance and opportunity to approach this subject or this matter that I've been focused on, to having an intentional response or intentional way of alchemizing and shifting this and transforming it in a way where I have that greater understanding of my role as an individual in the process of what's taking place, you know, on that collective level. So always know you are always doing what you need to understand information. It's going to take time for you to come to that place where you trust what you're getting, receiving, feeling through your mind, that you're going to understand that it takes time. It takes time for you to reintegrate into that space and place of understanding what is the truth of how you are receiving this information, and your ability to tap into the gift or the gifts that you have in recognizing the truth of it for yourself.
Yes, and Eddie, we'll get to your question in just a minute. I'll pull it back up. Beautiful, Nirma. And I would love to add to that too. So who gets truth bumps? Or who gets, you know, your body's giving you signals. Your body picks up in the environment before your mind can, it takes, you know, it's got to get up there. So you're getting signals like this all the time. Are you reading the energy? Are you observing the energy? Or are you trying to figure everything out with your mind? So remember, as you create more of your light body activated in there, and you realize you are a light being and you amplify that light, then you will see that you get new signaling, new synchronicities, but you have to be observant enough to see them. And every single individual is going to have different truths. Every single one of us, because you're as unique as your thumbprint and your heartbeat. And I never even knew we had all different heartbeats. I figured there must be some crossover. There's no crossover. Everyone's heart beats completely differently. That should tell you a lot. That's your soul imprint right there. Yeah, true shivers. Yes, absolutely. So you know your truth. Yeah. Yes, patience, integration will take time. Patience. It didn't all start in a day. Everybody wants it to be done like this, but this is about the journey. The whole point of being here is about the journey. It's not about the destination, whatever you may think that would be. How good can it get? How amazing can it be? You know, there's a lot of letting go over the last month and a half. A lot of you want to know the outcome. You've been so trained to want to know the when, the who, the where, the what, and how. Were we not all ingrained in that in school? Now we're at a place where it's like, hands off. All right, show me how good can it get? And take inspired action. Take action about things that get you excited. Yeah, good point, Kriba. Absolutely. Yeah, when you're trying to figure it out in your head, it'll spin you out more. And especially if you're consuming more and more information, as Norma was saying, I just can't. I cannot book, read, consume. I never have been able to. Show me and I know how to do it. But I would way rather be alchemizing, playing. That's what Norma's for. She's got it all figured out. Okay, any questions, please let us know. We're here for you. If something is not clear, you have a question, or if we've inspired you about something, you know, give us a thumbs up, but definitely do ask your questions. Yeah. Absolutely. And sorry, I'm on Carolyn's been shoveling snow for a few days now. So she said, oh, I need to take a break. So she's probably listening. Hello, Carolyn. Hope you're resting well. And so I'm keeping an eye on Rumble as well. And that's where Eddie's coming in from. So I'm trying to pace these over. So soul trap. Eddie's asking about the soul trap. Expand as your thinking and reasoning consciousness person, right? Or can your soul limit or expand you? I just think the more, like Norma was just saying, and I know you, Eddie, so I can speak to you about this. You love to learn and share information. This is an integral part of who you are. You're also a friendly giant, right? You're loving, you're kind, you run your own business, you're in the trades, you set tiles. I know you do that. So you're dealing with people, and I know you're a really kind person. So in all aspects, you are already expanding your consciousness. And just by being you and caring for your family and being supportive. So in this soul trap, I don't know for a fact because I haven't gone through it. I'll be honest about that. My understanding of it is it's about over half gone. I remember when I first found out about that, I was actually in San Francisco and I kept saying to my cousin, I just can't believe that they managed to create outside of this construct another construct. Like, I was quite taken with that. And so the word on the street is, don't go rushing towards the tunnel and the light. Turn around and see what else there is. Well, I'm like, well, I would have done that anyway because that's who I am. So I believe everyone will follow their right intuition when it's time. And I do believe it will eventually be somewhat taken down. Oh, here we go. On the subject of soul trap, have I always been stuck inside the construct after the crossover known as death, or have we ever been free in between earthly incarnations? That's a great question.
Well, can I speak to this? Because there's something else that I want to be able to bring forth too that Eddie has spoken to about, you know, if we are experiencing a movie, then why, oh, why did the so-called white hats fake the movie for so long? And this will go into what Enter the Void is asking about. Because we believe in things such as white hats. And we believe that white hats, gray hats, black hats, blue hats, red hats, yellow hats.
Tinfoil hats. Don't forget the tinfoil hats.
They signify that they have our best interests at heart. And that's been our downfall this whole time. That we have allowed ourselves to believe that our government has had our best interests at heart. That our state and counties and city officials have always had the people's interest at heart. While in the background this whole time, since I can remember, they've been playing this and passing things that kept limiting us more and more and more and more in our journey of this thing called life, in our co-creative processes, where things that were meant to be coming to us kept being taken because it was utilized for something different, or they put things in place that would block that and stop that. Now, it's which
one are you looking for?
The one that, yes, thank you. So here's the thing, as far as where we want to define something as a soul trap, what do you want to believe? What do you want to bring into your experience that's going to alter or shift what you believe? How much are you going to allow what somebody else says to alter your co-creative processes by taking information in like it's cake? So who can really speak to that? Have you met somebody who's been through the construct and died and come back? There's the possibility and probability. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. Yet, have you met someone directly that has shared this with you? And when they share it with you, if they're being honest in what it is that they're sharing, it's not going to alter your ability to have a co-creative process or shift or change your belief about something. They're merely going to tell you what they believe and what they feel because of what is resonating with them. So when we look at this, believe me, there are times that I took the information that you're speaking to here, Lindsay, and I've sat with it. I have sat with it and sat with it and sat with it. There's been recent experiences that I've had that's really, really just took me and said, okay, sit down and actually really, in your experience, in what you have experienced, in the way that you understand information, does this apply to anything about what you have come to understand about yourself and the world that you are and what it is that you want, or what you say you're wanting to experience and bring about in a way that you begin to really actually live a life? You have to remember, what you take in does influence you. How it influences you is up to you in how you're utilizing it. And if you're utilizing it as a way to fill you up, because I've done it. I'll sit here and admit to you, I've done it. I've made multiple mistakes. But the thing is if I'm not making those mistakes, how am I coming here and being able to have the ability to continue to guide you in ways where I can sit here and say, well, you know, this is where I was at. This is what it was focused on. This is what it was doing and how it was affecting me. But if there's anything that I can tell you is I haven't experienced most of the things that I have, you know, come into as far as where other people and their stories are concerned. Just as I've told you before, I'll tell you now, it doesn't make it right or wrong. It doesn't mean that they're lying or if they're telling the truth. It's their story, period. Just as I'm sitting here telling you mine.
Right? And I can add to what's just coming through on this. It's on a need to know basis. When it comes the time for you to know, you know, we can't know all this. It's that wanting to know thing again. I want to know all the answers. I want to know the who, the when, the where, the what. You're thinking about when you're exiting now. How does that affect you in this now moment? That's like way out there. We're all going to live a heck of a lot longer than previous generations. Yeah.
So it's beautiful you ask those questions. Yeah, no, continue to ask questions.
We love these questions.
Right. No, and do that for yourself, because it's like, because you see, you're keeping T and I challenged. You're keeping us challenged to step up and say, you know, well, this is where I've made my mistake. This is what I did. And it's not as much a mistake as this is what I got from my experience. This is what I got from my understanding of if I have had that experience or not. It doesn't mean that I'm not lacking having the openness to have those experiences, to meet those individuals. What I'm saying is I can only go with what's in my space, what's in what my environment is providing me and giving me. That's the reason why it's like when I come to understand things, I've been bringing them and I've been bringing them in a way that I understand. But I also know that I bring information that I come to understand through another, given how much I value what they bring forth. And what I do is I utilize it in a way that is nourishing, but it doesn't mean it's something I feed myself with. What I feed myself with is what is your understanding of what somebody else has brought. You're going to have to sit with it because they're bringing it in a way that has a resonance because it's triggered something within you. But wait till that trigger brings about that nourishment of self.
Absolutely. And I never even, we're in this conversation and that just came in like, well, there you go again. You want to know everything. And it wasn't about you guys. It was about me questioning it, going, well, what else can you tell me about this? Okay, so here's what else I got. Some people, some souls know damn well how to get out cleanly. They've been doing it forever, so they know. And some souls that are meant to stay in the game keep going through because that's what they signed up for. So, it's the best adventure game ever. And it's unique as you. You get to create it. You get to explore it. And you will remember. As you activate yourself, you will remember more. Absolutely. The truth is what's true to me. Absolutely. 100%.
What's your
Loving
story?
this. Right?
What's your story? You're here to tell one just like anyone else.
And
just,
actually,
because you're not doing it here like this. Yeah.
And here's Eddie. That's the key of my confusion, Norma. I'm in the opinion that the white hats are not so white after all. I think it's all a lesson for us. Like everything else. It's all been a lesson. Everything's a lesson. I look at everything, every single thing, every alchemization I do, every blow up I have. This morning I had some workout toys, one of the big balls, and then one of the bosom, and I had to wash them, so they came in and went up to the tub. Yeah, we had some fun with that this morning, and I was laughing at myself. And then right away I was like, I know what to do with these. I'm gonna play. So as long as those things feel like play, I'm having a lot of fun and remembering those things. And I went from doing hardcore HIIT workouts to learning more about myself to slow down. Why am I don't wear out your body. You want this to last for quite a while. Treat it with respect. Honor it as you honor the face or the mask you wear for everyone else. Honor your body in that same way. Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to be a Titan. Go for it.
It's too hard on my body. But it was a lot to let that go. We're talking adrenaline junkie for most of my life. Yeah. It's hard to let. And so that pump of adrenaline, that is it makes me feel alive. So can I do that in other ways? Can I just be quiet and feel that alive? So therein lies the truth of the question.
Yeah, it's Eddie, is wonderful that you are able to, express this in the way that you are. And, I understand about the confusion, but here's a way that I can express this in a way that hopefully helps you to understand that confusion is what's leading you more and more to understanding who you are. So your opinion about the white hats should be the opinion about any hat, because here's the thing. Wherever you're putting your focus and intention, if it's not on you, it ain't the truth. It's not real in its own right. It's an influence. And whatever you've put your intention and focus to is what is going to affect you and your world, the world that you are, because it's an influence. It influences the mind, because the brain is just taking what you're taking in. The brain just takes it in because it's the processor. It takes it in, but the ones that we utilize to understand the information we've taken in is one of two things. And they both have how they bring that information and provide you with your understanding of it. If you're using the mind and the mind only, you're going to remain confused. And you're just going to keep grasping and reaching to want to understand more and more and more. what
It's
you're
exhausting.
right, what it is that you're wanting to understand, or and the mind will control the body in its reactions to what's going on in your environment, or to whatever information you're taking in. Let it drop to the heart. Let the heart be the one that figures out what's taking place, so that way you're not wasting your energy and your time and your resources that are yours, because you are a world, as we have seen what's happened over time that we're in the process of correcting now, is understanding in order for us to take care of the world now, we've got to quit depleting that world, because we had to
Yeah.
understand stop depleting ourselves.
And
So through
mhm.
that, you got to understand, when you utilize the heart guides the mind, and the mind becomes unified within you to understand and recognize the things that keep you separated.
Yeah, and I will say for those that are, um, I'm aware of the show. Am I in it to win it? No, I'm aware of it. But I do believe it was a very important progress through for my awakening, embodying, and becoming more of me. And I do believe it's very beneficial to a great many people that otherwise would have just given up. And so there is that hope there, right? And so a lot of people call it hopium, but that hope there is giving them a reason to keep going. And many have broken off and gone more into themselves. And at the end of the day, I think that's what he's saying. Trump is saying that, right? So are you going to stay with it, or are you going to reverse it and bring it to yourself a little bit more all the time? Every time you feel anxious, turn it all off and go do something outside, right? So there's no judgment here at all for where anyone is at, because it is critical that we all don't pop awake at the same time, that we all don't expand at the same time. It needs to be balanced in energy. So when we get into this balance of energy, it's more gradual. And those things are moving very quickly. If it moved any faster, there'd be some discombobulated people spinning out like crazy, because things energetically are moving very quickly right now, even for those just reading energies at the moment. And so I just want to really reiterate that we're all going through our very own experience and process, and there is no right or wrong way. It just is. You don't know how many lifetimes you've had. You don't know who your soul family fully is. But if you lead with the heart and you embody things more, and you ask, what would the heart want me to do right now or behave? And if you're responding more than you're reacting, if you're being kind and loving instead of being selfish and attacking, there's a big difference there. And you will find you feel more balanced. The more you love yourself, the more the exterior world will love you too. So it's that division within that we're all healing right now. And as we witness that, and that's a whole nother show about the prism and the light. 444 Smarty. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that and make sure that you guys clearly hear that I'm with an open heart and so much love for everyone where they're at, because there are many people suffering at different levels right now. Many people suffering. Now, when you say that, she says the hamster wheel can be one heck of a roll. Now I'm seeing cheese being rolled down a hill. Have you ever seen those cheese wheel competitions? They roll the
Do we
cheese
not
down.
just speak to revolutions?
Yeah,
And that's
right?
movement. That's the natural flow of movement, y'all. You got to understand, in order to become evolved, you have revolutions. It's just, we're just now getting back to that space and place of that, the revolutions that have been taking place, we're seeing through that it was something that was a continuum that a lot of us should have been evolving through. And so it's like looking at what Eddie speaks to about realizing that the ones that talk about the soul trap, they seem to be the ones that are in that soul trap. That's a very powerful observation, Eddie, because what you're doing is now you're beginning to see that that's somebody else's story. And that doesn't mean that it's yours or anyone else's. It's a part of everyone in their
It's us.
ability to
Yeah.
understand their journey and their experience. And everybody, every single one of us as a soul, we're looking for that connection. And through that connection, what's happening is we're coming to understand that our connection, just for myself, has been that I want true connection. I don't want to have to seek it through a relationship or through a friendship or through these ships that many of us have been hopping and jumping off of all this time. And I'm not speaking that is not that it's good or bad. What I'm saying is I went that route. I realized and understood that that was the hamster wheel for me. And once I come to that fullness of the realization of what it was that I was wanting to actually experience of this journey was the truth of connection. What is connection? What is the truth of it? That I don't have to have this sad story, or I don't have to have this trauma that's taken place. And I'm not saying this is good or bad either. What I'm saying is I had just worked through my understanding enough of my journey to say, okay, I've had these experiences. This is what that experience led to. This is what I come to understand what it means in this social construct of what experiences I was having. Now all it says is I just have moved from that way of understanding, because I enlightened myself in my understanding of who I was and who I am through my journey. That took me to the next level, took me to the next stage, took me to whatever it may be. So you see, evolution is something that takes place within us in small strides, in small steps. It doesn't mean that it always has to be that significant kundalini explosiveness, because not even a kundalini is always going to bring you an evolution. It's just going to help you to have the capability or ability to be able to take your hemispheres, put them together, and start to see through the veils of the illusions that exist in this journey called life.
Yeah. Science is going to be coming out. That's beautiful, Norma. Thank you. And science will be coming out with much easier explanations that nobody's going to hear it until they're ready to hear it. But to realize how truly miraculous this body is, go watch the movie Avatar and think about your body like that. That's the best explanation I can give. Because we are energy beings. You can't create or destroy energy, so we're eternal. This is but one stop in this journey. One small experience that we slow down enough to experience time, which has been going really fast lately, by the way, that we have this opportunity to do this, to have soul lessons. You know, all I know is I'm here to enjoy this experience and show a new way of being on this planet. That one, like, I don't plan on being in North Vancouver forever. I want to connect with other souls and plug into Earth and travel the world and have a big catamaran that everyone can come and visit us on, and have homes in, we've have these big visions coming in, and it's like, oh yeah, that resonates. I've never wanted to be in one spot forever. I've traveled a lot, and I've traveled a lot for a reason. It's very, very, very expanding. And sometimes we don't know why we're called to go somewhere. Maybe it's later when we get home and we're like, oh yeah, that happened while I was in Egypt, huh? Oh yeah, that makes more sense. I had the biggest visions, dreams, guidance when I was in Egypt and surrendered. I spent so much time in leather slippers on the ground by myself. The guides were always like, well, don't you want someone with you? I'm like, no, I don't. Just want to be by myself. I want to have this experience. And so as we go through this process, it's really, really critical that you do what lights you up. Kriba was saying she wants to be that, maternal grandmother that's taking care of the family. Absolutely. There's so much honor in that. There's no right or wrong. It's what brings you joy. What lights you up? What acts of kindness, for when you do that act of kindness for someone else, You're getting a serotonin hit for doing it when they look at you and smile. Oh, that made me feel good. Yeah, of course it did. So, random acts of kindness are a great way of feeling better if you're feeling a little low. Get out there and interact with the environment. Oh, Ray is saying, come live in Oz. Yeah, right. Absolutely. All year round. I hear it's pretty hot sometimes. We definitely we'll bring the catamaran by.
Right.
Well, I just know that, yeah, I can just see it, right? Dino, are you listening? You want to come captain? Eddie's thanking you for your explanation. Aware of all the slides. Thanks for your encouragement. Love you both at work now, just listening. Thanks, Bigly. Absolutely. And Eddie was sharing earlier that he's never read a book. So, but he's very, it's funny. He you don't need to read anymore. You can consume information so many other ways. Yeah. So I used to read a ton because it was a form of, oh, just get me out of this reality that I'm in right now. And I'm going to escape in this book and enjoy this book right now. Super beautiful, super fun. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's embodying. So this is what we're talking about. It's this integration of information. Maybe it's light. Do you know how much that sun fires up your cells for you as it hits the skin and it's activating you? I'm not saying go sit for hours, but just even 20 minutes outside a day. Yeah.
It makes me think of Wally when he's on the ship and he's at the sun. He goes, opens up and he goes, ring.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What do you need to do for you? And remembering that we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Earth. How would we have this experience if it wasn't for Earth? And that all of the minerals in our body are also in Earth. That kind of middle layer where all those minerals are. There's inner Earth. There's so much more to this than we've been led to believe. So I'm not done here. I'm not done exploring and seeing what magic can happen. Yeah.
Layers upon layers upon layers.
Absolutely. Kriba, that's beautiful. When I worked at a funeral home and after everyone left the visitation, I sensed the deceased knowing they are beginning again. I find that really fascinating that you worked at a funeral home and now you work delivering new souls into the world. No wonder. Yeah. Next group trip, beyond the ice wall. Awesome. I'm in. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's been coming on the brain quite a bit lately is this, and here's the world, by the way, right? So the world, you choose, you create. What do you want? But don't forget to have that gratitude still and to look around, right? Sitting there looking forlorn and spirit's trying to give him a cup, right? You've got more than you realize. You're stronger than you know. You're stronger than you know. So there's so much more to experience here. And don't forget about the balance. You get the high priestess, masculine, feminine, dark, light. And there's a reason there's the yin yang. Every time you bring something that has been hidden in the darkness into the light, what does it do? Alchemizes it, activates it, and brings it into the light. Do you know that is so critical to how dark this realm has gone, how deep we've gone into the darkness to bring it all to the light, to bring it all to the light in an expansive, explosive way? This is why things will happen very quickly. If it was done over eons, so to speak, well, it has in a way, but this whole transformation transition, it's been since 2012, really, but very quiet on that end. And it just keeps getting faster and faster and faster and faster, speeding up. But from that darkness, the opposite of that is like pulling a spring down and fireworks into the light. Scorpio life, yeah. Beautiful. There you go. Shay says, I've seen people leave. Absolutely. There you go. I think the soul trap's in the mind, love.
I can think it's just a narrative, just like anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a narrative that someone was able to express in a way that others could relate to, and they showed up, and it's something that they possibly just took on because it was relatable. It doesn't
Well,
mean that
and
it
look at,
was real.
yeah, even the Stargates,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even the Star
And this is
we
this is what it's about. I mean, how much of a story can you create that's going to really just take off, that others can relate or find something to feel like they can be connected to that, and
yes,
that's what this is about. Who can
yes.
come up with that greatest story? I mean, you want to believe in galactics, believe in galactics, but what I'm saying is understand this is a story. What is yours?
Yeah. And this is why I was saying, as you go through this process and you find this stuff out, you know, I was all in on that stuff at one point, right? You saw my reaction to it as we were just discussing it. I viscerally remember that. And now I'm like, yeah, whatever. Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah,
It's
not whatever, but it's just not important to me because I haven't seen it for fact myself. I don't know it to be true for me.
it's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun. I mean, if we really think about it, and we're really just rawly honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stories going on out here. There really is. I'm not
But
saying that the truth or if they're not, but it's just understand their stories.
Lord of the Rings, a
I
lot of
mean,
metaphors. Yeah.
yeah, you go look at Wikipedia and stuff like that, and you start putting that story together, you'll begin to understand and start going, wow, there might have been the possibility and probability that that truly actually existed. And that's how they came up with the story to be able to present us in order to watch. I'm not saying there is no possibility or probability that there's that this has existed, that this has taken place. It has somewhere and is being brought into what we are experiencing as a reality. So this is where I step back and I go, oh, that's interesting. That's cool. I mean, that's great. It's just that space and place is like still, even through this evolution, through an evolution of myself, am I watching it truly for what it's created for, an entertainment purpose only? But if I want to know if there's any truth behind it, I look at it this way now. If there's anything truthful to what someone is presenting or bringing forth, there will be enough receipts, so to speak, that's going to show that there's facts and evidence that proves that. Because if there's anything you can come to understand, patterns that exist, that right there is what tells you has more of a malleable, tangible truth to believe because it keeps showing up. It just may be subtle differences, but it keeps showing up.
But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's even Inner Earth, right? With
Mhm.
King Kong
Yeah,
and
they were
right?
giants.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. So it all depends on your belief. And I just wanted to tap into this one on the soul trap thing. I just keep getting messages about it that it literally is your mind. So if you believe, like it's your beliefs that create your experience. So when you leave this realm, so to speak, and you get out there, if you believe there's a soul trap, there's a soul trap. If you believe you're going to hell, there's a hell. So remember, you're creating your experience, so create wisely. Yeah. We love you. Norma Jean.
Yes, please just understand, have fun with this. You can't always be serious. You got to have some fun because that's where you're going to find that's that in between space between thought to the next thought where you'll find the silence of the truth for you. Just keep
Yeah,
having fun. Keep bringing those
absolutely.
questions.
And just remember, sometimes just take a deep breath, turn everything off, light a candle, put some music on, do a little dance, do a little jig, enjoy. You didn't come here to be like a detective stressed out. You came here to enjoy this. So find that enjoyment. It's up to you. Nobody can do it for you. We love you very much. Have a beautiful night.